Welcome, everyone. I'm Dick Deming. I'm Medical Director of Mercy One Cancer Center and the founder of Above and Beyond Cancer. Welcome to our weekly cancer education series. It's brought to you in part by a grant from the Rosalie and Sherry Exline Ziegler Fund. And I have two guests with me tonight, Dr. Amy Hughes and one of her patients, Lisa Bistline. I love that up. So Lisa grew up here in the Des Moines area in Runnels. Went to high school at Southeast Polk.
Yes.
Yep. And has been working in healthcare. And we're going to learn about her cancer journey. And then also we're going to learn about her involvement in this project to capture stories about her life. And Dr. Amy Hughes, a colleague of mine and also a member of the board of directors for Above and Beyond Cancer. Amy grew up in Michigan, went to medical school here at DMU, and is a medical oncologist with Mission Cancer and Blood.
Yes.
So welcome, both of you.
Thank you.
So, Amy, we're going to talk about a not-for-profit that you started, and it's called Amadora Legacy Project. So maybe we'll start off by explaining what is Amadora Legacy Project?
Sure. So Amadora Legacy Project was created to basically help provide legacy videos for terminally ill patients. And it originally came about because around 2012, I had a really close relationship with a patient who had been a friend of mine first. And she was quite young and she had young children at home. And we had talked about doing a video. She unfortunately had advanced cancer. So wanted to do it. And we talked about it so many times and it was just always pushed off. It was always pushed off. And she eventually was enrolled in now what's Every Step Hospice. And it was like, had one window left. And we were able to work together with Dr. Mosier through Every Step Hospice and get a video camera together, and we were able to do it. And it was so incredibly rewarding. And it always stuck with me because the family was incredibly grateful to have it. And I saw the value in it. And so that has been on my mind off and on for, 10 years. And in 2021, it just seemed like finally the right time. I was sort of like, well, if anyone's going to do it, it's going to be me. And so I just started doing grassroots effort to try and start it. We didn't originally start as a nonprofit. It originally started literally just as volunteers, and it kind of morphed into a bigger entity with the nonprofit. So we officially got our 501c3 nonprofit status in September of last year. And we have filmed about 21 patients thus far. So it's been incredible. It's been really incredible.
And this whole idea of the legacy, like if you go to a funeral celebration of life, you often see pictures that people will bring out, and the importance of remembering and the power that video has.
Absolutely.
To memorialize, if you will, to make someone real and present that will last for generations.
Absolutely. And we've had that conversation. I've had that conversation multiple times with actually even large physician groups about, for those people who had lost someone really close to them, whether it was a husband or a child or a parent, what did they really miss? And over again, I kept getting the response of, I wish I could hear their voice, or I wish I could see them laugh or hear the stories. And so we knew that we were onto it, that it wasn't just a matter of letters are beautiful and photos are beautiful, but there's something very, very different about being able to hear them and see them in real time and hear their own stories in their own words.
And now with technology the way it is, I mean, you don't need expensive video cameras and lighting, and
that's very true.
We have the ability, all of us carry around in our pocket
every day
a whole production facility.
Yes, it's we're very blessed that through the nonprofit we are partnered with professional videography companies here in town, and so the video that we do produce for participants is all professionally done. Music tracks, photo overlay, the whole deal. But for people who either don't technically qualify for eligibility with the nonprofit that we have, or just don't want to do a professional setting, then we do have some tips and tricks on the website for do it yourself with your own phone and how they can capture that. I mean, really just everyday moments, right? Like capture a quick little video clip with your kids or with your parents.
Mm-hmm.
And those are so valuable.
Yeah, and especially as you mentioned, this first patient that made you think of doing this ongoing, had small children, and capturing that essence of mom has to mean a lot to the children.
Unbelievable.
How long, that particular patient, how long has she been gone?
Well, when she got diagnosed, from the time she got diagnosed, she only lived for about less than 6 months. It was very fast. And she has now been gone for just over 10 years.
10 years. So her children are how old now?
28, I believe, is the oldest. So they're right around when that's about right. So when she passed away, if I remember correctly, they were 11, 14, and I think it was right around 18. So it's just about.
If you had the opportunity to talk with them now, 10 years in the future,
So I've actually remained in contact with the family, and I had actually asked her husband permission to share that story from. I had shared it on our social media, and he was so happy to do it because of the fact that they were so grateful that they had it. And so I have remained in contact with them, and they're doing wonderful. And he's been remarried, and his new wife also lost her husband, and she actually fairly recently had reached out to me and said, I wish that I had a video of my own husband. So I just, I keep seeing the value across the board for these families, friends, loved ones, everyone.
So Lisa, tell us a bit about your story. So I know that you are on a journey with stage 4 lung cancer.
Yes.
How was your lung cancer first diagnosed?
I was diagnosed in December of 2019. December 26th, actually, day after Christmas, was when I got the official diagnosis from PET scans that I definitely had lung cancer, and it was already at stage 4. I started my treatments then, February of 2020. Dr. Hughes has been my physician. And I have been on, I think this is number 9 for drugs so far. I've been a bit resistant. My cancer has been a bit resistant to treatment. And currently on we found a gene, an ALK gene, for those people that may know that terminology. And that has a specific treatment now to it. And so I am now taking that medication. And we've had one, what I'll call good scan results.
She's so modest.
And I am,
we're cautious.
Yes, cautious. We're cautious. We're cautious at that, so.
Great. Well, that's great. So you have an ALK mutation, and so you're on an oral targeted agent.
Yes, I am.
Probably started off with kind of the regular chemotherapy drugs, intravenous, and now with the ALK mutation, you're able to be on an oral targeted agent.
Yes, it's life-changing, really.
Well, I wish you continued success. So you look great.
Thank you.
And how did you learn about this legacy project?
I learned about this from Dr. Hughes. She presented the opportunity to me during one of my visits with her. And I instantly said, yes, I want to do this. It's something that I actually had in my mind that I had wanted to do, but I didn't know necessarily how to go about doing it. And
Lisa, you're married and have children and grandchildren.
I have grandchildren. I'm blessed. My parents are still alive.
Oh,
wow. So we have a huge family connection, and my diagnosis has been very hard for everyone. And I know in my mind that this is a terminal diagnosis. And I had several challenges that have shown me that, yes, this is. And even with this TKI, I know this is still a terminal diagnosis, but your heart doesn't want to know that. And until science can catch up with my disease, this video is a lifeline for me.
Lisa, how old are you?
I am 54.
And did you grow up in the era where you had a family that had a video camera and you made homemade movies?
You know, we did some, but you know, those were like coming in, and it was technology, but it wasn't something, you know, I didn't have it in the home I grew up in.
Uh-huh.
But I did have one that I used once in a while for my kids,
Uh-huh.
but not.
But moms
know,
are never the ones
Not
as
that
the
often.
person on the video. Moms are always
No.
behind the camera,
Right.
taking the
Yes, I
photos
have
and
some videos of the kids, but there's
Yeah.
none really
Yeah, right,
of
Yeah.
me
right.
at all. So
And your children are how old now?
I have a 30-year-old and a 21-year-old.
Okay.
So,
And then you have grandchildren
and then I
as
have
well.
grandchildren.
Pretty-
I have, yes,
How old
So
are they?
they are what, 7? Will be 7 coming up here in July. So 6 right now,
Okay.
and then 3 and 2.
Okay.
So
And so,
they
so
are
when you
busy.
decided to do this and create these videos, did you have in mind who you wanted to be interacting with? Was it your thought that this would be you sort of talking about your life, or that it would be you interacting with family members?
just me sharing
Mhm.
so that they will have something to watch.
Mhm.
it's okay.
They will be able to hear my voice. They will be able to hear me say, I love you
Mhm.
with all my heart. They'll be able to know those stories so that I share with them and know which stories meant a lot to me. And that they can play it at any time. And it'll be their private little thing that they have that I have given to them.
Mhm.
And I was able to do it, you know, while I consider while I'm well in a cancer stage. Because in a cancer journey, you have well times and you have maybe not so well times. And so I was able to do that video while I was well and able to present it and have that. And I have it in reserve. And when the time comes to give it to them, the time will be on my time
Mhm.
to be able to give it and share it with them.
So as you prepared for this video, did you spend a lot of time writing and thinking clearly what you wanted to say, which stories you wanted to tell, which stories you still wanted to keep buried in the closet?
Right. You know, they do a great job, Amy's crew, and they give you kind of a checklist kind of things you might want to share or talk about. And so I did go through that, and then I wrote some notes and shared it with them so that as you go through that process of making the video, they can prompt you at different times and say, now tell me about, this. And so then it can prompt you. So doing the video, being the person doing the video is it's very relaxed. It's very calming. It's great because they're right there with you, and you're sharing your life and you're sharing what you love, and it's
We may
healing.
cry right along with
Yes.
them.
Mhm.
Yes, they do. And it's just it's very self-fulfilling to know that you've been able to do that.
And the recording process, the video recording, that happens over several days, over one day?
Nope, it's just one day,
Okay.
one session, and they
So no costume
Take it away.
changes.
no, you
I've
can
had
bring
one
them.
person who stripped down to something else.
Her name was Cher. She changed costumes 3 times.
We do, and to
Yeah.
that point. So the way that we have most recently sort of pivoted is that when they first reach out and apply for a video, and we realize yes they're eligible, they meet criteria, then we will reach back out to them with kind of a pre-meeting, like a pre-video meeting, And that's at the point where we go through general topics, and are there certain topics that we for sure want to make? We make sure we get them on video. Are there certain topics they absolutely don't want to talk about? Don't bring it up. So we kind of put notes down, like she mentioned, about triggering them to say certain things if they forget during the interview. We initially in the beginning gave actual question lists. And what we realized is that as we did more of them, they were so rehearsed on the answers that like the participant was actually more nervous because they had written this whole spiel and then they'd forget it. So it worked out better for us to stop giving specific questions, but give topics.
Because then they talk about.
Yep. And then it was more, spontaneous. And so we film about an hour and a half of actual filming. And the final custom video comes out to about between 45 to 60 minutes in length when it's all said and done. But it's all in one, like roughly 3-hour block of time, probably. Yeah.
So anybody like share recipes or go to the kitchen and cook up my
haven't done that yet, but
my favorite cookies that I like to make for my grandchildren.
You're welcome to tell anything you want. You're welcome to tell anything. Yes. And we talked to about, do they want to tell it in third person and, give messages that way? Or is there a point in the video where they want to give a first person and talk directly to the camera, like the person sitting there? And that's actually surprisingly hard to do, right? Because it's so personal. But, we try and customize it as much as possible to what they're wanting that final version to look like.
So when you did the actual video, you said you were relaxed, you weren't nervous, and you pretty much knew what you wanted to say and who you wanted to speak to directly.
Yeah, because you'd had that time to think about it. And, and I like to plan a lot of things. And cancer wasn't on my plan. Cancer was not on my plan. So it's thrown me for quite the loop. And when you are on this journey and you're coming to terms with this journey, and part of my planning is, well, what's my family? How are they going to remember me? How are they going to know me? And I got to think, looking even like through my camera going, well, I don't even take pictures of myself. I'm not from the selfie generation and I didn't get into taking them of myself. Yeah. So I tried for a little bit to take more selfies, and that hasn't worked out real well for me. And then I thought, well, maybe like a video, I had kind of thought, because you just start kind of planning in your mind, what am I leaving? What legacy am I leaving? And how will they know that is my legacy? How will they know that? And video is the way. And being able to have this, and each one of them will watch it, and each one will walk away with a little piece that they'll say, that was for me.
There's a palliative care physician that has written a piece about, how you engage with conversations with someone who has incurable cancer, where you never know that this might be the last conversation. And let me just kind of throw this out and have each of you react and see whether some of these things might be fodder for the video. So he said that, whenever you're interacting, and this is more advice to someone who is dying, who might be interacting with people, that there's 4 things to say. The 4 things to say are, number 1, I love you. Number 2, thank you for everything you've done in my life. Number 3, please forgive me for anything I've ever done that might have in any way offended you. And number 4, I forgive you for anything that you might have done knowingly or unknowingly. And that those are 4 things that are kind of easy to help smooth over and or reconcile and or create a remembrance. Are those any of the topics that you might cover in some of your prompts?
So yes. So we, with this whole huge, I think it's 4 pages of potential questions that we have that keeps growing. And so we do have some of those types of questions in there. I think it's really hard for people when they're doing the video. It's much easier for them to tell stories about their childhood,
Mhm.
to, tell how they got married or how their pregnancies went. So it's like very easy to tell those stories. When it comes down to those really intimate, very personal, very vulnerable questions, then that's hard for some people to kind of get to that step.
Mhm.
And we've had some patients who don't want to do that. Like, they absolutely are like, I don't want to talk about anything like that. I just want to tell stories of my childhood.
Mhm.
And we've had patients who just want to embrace it fully. So we've had kind of the gamut of all of that.
Yeah.
But yeah, we do talk about that.
So you've got the video ready. Do you have multiple versions of it or is it on a, yeah, what's the format
Yes.
nowadays? Formats are changing.
Right. Format changes. And thankfully, you have a source. So if it changes too
Yeah.
much,
Right.
but it was sent electronically to me
Uh-huh.
then. And so now, and I do have it on a little disc, a little thumb drive, I guess you call them, whatever you call them now.
USB.
I don't
Right.
know. USB. No?
And so you make multiple
Yeah.
copies. So
And
you'll have
so, you can make copies of that or hold on to that single one and give directions, leave directions. It's kind of up to then the person who gets that as to what we do. My family knows that I did the video. And the only parts that they know on it are what's available that the public can see that's on the webpage.
on the webpage, but you haven't shown them.
But they do not know the video.
Okay.
For me, my choice is they will receive that or be able to view it once I've passed.
Mhm.
That's when it will be in their hands.
And Lisa, has creating this video maybe inspired you to do other things in the whole legacy department in terms of creating, I don't know, scrapbooks or recipes or
yes, we're trying.
Uh-huh,
We're trying
uh-huh.
to take more pictures. That's was
Okay.
this year was to be more picture. And
so when you get together with your grandkids.
Yes. And then at the end of the year, into the summer, maybe make a photo book,
Mhm.
that
You should
and
still
try
get
to
those
start.
video clips though of you.
Yes,
with your
I know.
grandkids.
We should. We should do that. I find a lot of times though, and I don't know if it's just my era or my ways, that I tend to put the phone down and just try to be. I keep thinking, I want to be in this moment. I want to be in this
Mhm,
moment.
mhm.
But
That's why you need to train
I
your
know.
husband to take the
pictures.
videos.
Yeah.
Videos.
So Lisa,
Yes.
I mean, you have stage 4 cancer. It's treatable but not curable.
Correct.
But yet you look like $1 million. You're
Oh,
doing
thanks.
well. So
Mhm.
I am sure that there are
Thank you.
moments where your family sort of forgets that time is not forever.
Maybe for them, but it never. There's
Yeah.
always
You're always aware of
there.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Always aware of
Yeah.
it, and there's and while you can sit here and the outside looks really good, I might drop a glass, or we go to walk or do something, and I can't keep up with everybody. So
Mhm.
a lot of times there's something that causes you to remember
Mhm.
and to know that, oh, shoot, yeah, I can't do that. I
How
can't
old
do
is
this.
your youngest grandchild?
The youngest one is just 2.
Okay.
And so one of the strong points and driving points also, and I think I even say it in the video, can't remember now, everything I said, was that, one of my greatest fears is that my grandkids will never know me.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That they will have no memory of me. And so this way, with the video, I can ensure their parents can sit down with them when they're old enough and play that video and say, see how she laughed?
Mhm.
See what she did with her head or her hands? Because I am a very
Mhm.
hand body speaker. And so that video will, I know then that gives me comfort to know that they can know me on some format.
Mhm. And are there other ways, either in the video or in other writing or anything, where you're passing on bits of wisdom?
Well, I try.
You seem like a very wise person.
Yes. I try to do things. I've done a few different things that I will find in. We had like one item I have is called the dress, which is my wedding dress, which we make sure that everybody knows every anniversary how much I love my wedding dress.
She
Still,
really loves it.
to this
Really.
day. Can't fit in it.
Yeah.
but
I'll
never wear it again.
Anyone else worn it for their wedding?
No.
Oh, okay. That's
No.
Okay.
My granddaughters can.
Okay.
Eventually, maybe.
I'm
Sure
not sure
though.
the style will be the same.
I know. I'm
but-
sure they'll have to cut it, but as long as they keep it kind of blingy, on that. But I also, I've done a couple of different things with trying to write things and pass those down and say, keep this and keep this going. When I was pregnant with my oldest, we didn't know, at that time, boy or girl, didn't find out. So I had a girl outfit and a boy outfit. Was a boy. And second one was a boy. I kept that girl outfit. And when I had my first granddaughter then,
Aw.
I still had that outfit. So I wrote a note with the outfit on how I bought it, how I kept it, and how every, generation girl in this family should get passed on, and
That's
who I
adorable.
was.
I love
Beautiful.
that.
So I've tried to do a few different things like that will put, my name as the starting point
I love that.
and something passed on.
So, Amy, when you think back on your family, are there family members? Did you know all your grandparents? Are there things that you wished you would have known more about your grandparents or your parents
Sure.
or your aunts and uncles? And how does your own relationship with your grandparents or parents influence what you've developed here?
So I am lucky that both my parents are still living. They've been married for, 56 years, I think. And I have a very large, amazing, extended family. My grandparents, so in particular, my Italian grandmother, she and my grandfather lived in Florida when I grew up, when I was in Michigan. And so I to be honest, I kind of felt gypped, because my sisters remember more of growing up with them before they moved to Florida. And, I was in Michigan, so I only saw them once a year. When I was old enough and I was out of those teenage years where, you got the snotty teenager who doesn't really, it's not really interested in anything. By the time I was old enough to really appreciate her stories, and I mean, she has really incredible stories about the family immigrating and just really amazing. She had already developed Alzheimer's and she was getting more advanced. So by the time that they moved her back to Michigan to live near us, she was pretty far advanced. And so I feel like I really lost out on those stories. And that's where the name Amadora comes from. So Amadora Legacy Project was named because the name Amadora means gift of love in Italian. And so that's where that kind of link came in, was that, I really wish I did have I'd love to have her on video. She was this very, just amazing Italian, loud and hands and, made everything
Lots of
from
hugs and
scratch. And,
kisses.
oh my gosh, she gave the best hugs. And so I really wish that I had something to visually look at and hear her voice and hear her laughter. And she used to always banter with my dad back and forth. And it'd be amazing to to be able to have that on video.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And then, what do you think this says about those of us who, I mean, we're all mortal, but there's something very real about mortality when you're told you have an incurable cancer, when in reality we could all, meet our maker tomorrow. Do you think it says anything about what we should maybe all be doing in terms of creating legacies, whether we've been told we have an incurable cancer or not?
I mean, I think everyone should do it. Honestly. I mean, so when we first started this grassroots effort to do the filming, we did it based off of my own legacy video, because I was like, oh, we'll just do mine and we'll do the prototype and we'll figure out how to troubleshoot it. And so we kind of joke that mine's more like a mini series. I think I'm at like hour 6. We're like, kids, it's Wednesday. It's next installment for mom. So I deeply feel that everyone would benefit from doing a video. If I could pay the cost for everyone, I would do it. Obviously, we're limited with our population, but I think there's so much value, because you're right. Like, I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. Something can happen to me tomorrow. I don't know. I think it's incredibly valuable.
Yeah. And the different formats, the video obviously is very real. I'm wondering, I'm not even sure where I'm going with this question, but back in the day of film and cameras and sending off the film and then waiting and getting the pictures back, I personally cherished photographs more than now. They're just so plentiful that, things that are so plentiful diminish in value. Sure. And it does disturb me, the number of acres of land we are using to create data farms to store photos that nobody's going to look at again. Do you ever worry that these are created and then they become, that they're not used or looked at, or you think
I don't. So I think it's different with photos. I agree, because I can fully admit to you that my iCloud storage has 96,000 photos on it. I fully admit to that. And that's everything from like the youngest I could think of. I converted everything.
Right.
But again, I don't have those in photo albums. I don't go back and I look at all those, right? It's nice to see them when I need them, but I think video is different. I think there's just a really personal connection to being able to, again, kind of hear it and see them. I mean, I'm sure people who lost a loved one but kept the voicemail. It's like the one voicemail that they have, right? Yeah. Because they can hear the voice. I have a phone from that first patient. I have a phone from 10 years ago that I can't get rid of because I have a voicemail from her. I have a long text thread. Yes. But I can't get rid of it. So I think there's something way more personal than just still photograph when you can see that and hear it, and it's just a different connection.
Okay. So how would someone who has been diagnosed with an incurable cancer and wants to participate in this project, what's the process by which they apply? And...
Sure. So we do have a website, AmadoralegacyProject.org. And when you go to the website currently, what they'll realize is there's a lot of old logo and wording for Love and Legacy. So when we first formed the nonprofit, we were under the heading of Love and Legacy. We have rebranded recently under Amadora. So within the next month or so, that will all be transitioned over, in case that's confusing. But there is an application form on the website where they fill in all their information. I'm the one who receives the applications. I'm very fast at my
So again, it's Amadora Legacy Project.org.
Yes. Yep. And so I typically send back the initial response that, yes, we received it within 24, 48 hours. That then triggers me to reach out to one of our legacy coaches who is put in contact with the applicant to do kind of that pre-interview discussion about what to talk about and tone and things. And then that legacy coach is the one who sits for the interview. So the reason we do that is because that way, when they do the pre-interview, they're getting comfortable with who's going to be sitting in front of the camera with them. They can ask questions. So it's a nice continuity. And then most patients more recently have opted to film in their home. We do have the option of filming in a studio if they're not comfortable for whatever reason in their own home. And so we have done some of those as well. But we make it as easy as possible. Yeah.
And what's usually the time frame from they've applied,
Mm-hmm.
you reach out to them, and then the video happens?
Mm-hmm. So part of that is based on their timeline.
Mhm.
So we're very fast about when we know that there's a time frame that we're working against in their own medical journey. We're obviously really fast about it. So if I knew that someone, for example, we needed to do it urgently, then I have several professional videographers who I can reach out to and say, who can do it this Thursday or who can do it next Monday? And I've never had an issue where they haven't come through. So it's fast.
And I think I hear you say that these are professional videographers whose career is doing this, and they are donating their
Correct.
time?
So
Or
we've had both. We
Okay.
do have videographers who have donated multiple video shoots. We do also pay videographers. So our funding is all through very generous community donations. We also have secured some grant money as well. You could imagine it's not cheap. So it's at least $3,000 a video, and that's totally free of charge for any of the
for the
participants.
patients. Mhm.
Mhm. And so all of that is then kind of funded on the back end from the community and for grants. And we've so far been very blessed with
Yeah.
that.
So the point I'm hearing is that this isn't just you showing up with your phone and creating
No.
a video on the sly.
No.
It's probably makeup and lighting and
They do their own makeup.
Okay.
They do their own makeup. But yes, you're correct. So they have the videographers themselves, when they show up for the shoot, it takes about 30 to 45 minutes to set up all the lighting and where they want the camera and all of those
Mhm.
pieces of it. So it's all
Yeah,
totally
now that
professional.
part's a little intimidating when they're doing all the lighting and wait a minute, voice testing, and wait a minute, look at the video, wait a minute from this angle, that part's a little
Yeah.
intimidating to
Yeah.
start with, but then
Yeah.
it gets nice.
We
You
try and
just
make it as
relax.
comfortable as possible.
Yes.
Let's
shift gears just a little bit.
Sure.
So obviously this is a project to help preserve a legacy that's going to outlive you, but you've been chosen to be part of this because you have an incurable cancer. Tell us a little bit, maybe Amy, from the physician point of view, how you have that conversation with a patient when you're explaining that they have cancer and it's stage 4, and what words you use and how, you and I probably know many patients that are undergoing treatment that don't quite understand that
Mhm.
they are undergoing treatment, but that the treatment is not a curative treatment.
Sure.
What's your thought on how important that is for patients to understand, and how do you provide them the information that they have treatable but not curable cancer, and leave the window open for hope to be in the room?
Yeah. I think it's incredibly important to be honest with the patient and their family. And I don't mean that to imply that we have physicians who are honest. It's just maybe not as direct.
Mhm.
And I think there's definitely a way to give more direct information, but in a very empathic way, right? It's a warmer bedside manner approach, but it's still giving them the knowledge that they need to make a decision. I don't feel right if a patient doesn't have all the information in front of them so that they can make a decision that's right for them. I don't want to shortchange them. And maybe they would say, no, I don't want to do that treatment, right? I don't want them to go down a pathway and then feel like, wait, you didn't tell me that this was like going to be forever, right? And so I'm very strong proponent of having open conversation with patients and their families about what we're looking at. That does not mean killing hope. I think the way that I approach it is talking about what we're looking at for whatever time frame it is, right? So it's not a matter of, I always ask patients, so if somebody says to me, well, what's my prognosis? How many months am I going to live? And I will always first ask them, do you really want a number? Because I don't want you to fixate on that number, right? I don't want to tell somebody, we think you have, less than 6 months to live. And then they're so focused on that number that they don't live their life, right? I mean, our whole point is we want you to enjoy your family and we want you to do the things you love to do for as long as you can. And very often when I ask that question, I get sort of well, maybe I don't want to know that number. And so then we talk in more broad terms about, okay, well, for whatever time we're looking at, this is, the treatment pathway that we have options on, and we talk about that. But I think the hard part for, I think, a lot of physician teams is the time commitment. It takes a lot of time to have those kind of really intimate, detailed conversations with families. And it's hard when we're so busy in general. There's so many patients to be seen. And it's really hard to be able to stop long enough to really dedicate that. And so I'm not infrequently probably late for the next appointment, but I'm very grateful that the majority of my patients know that it's because I was having another conversation, and if it was them, I would do the same thing.
Yes, right.
So I think it's imperative that we do that.
So Lisa, switching roles here now, is the patient hearing for the first time? I mean, it's one thing to hear you have cancer, but it's quite another thing to hear you have cancer. It has spread. It's not curable, even before you start your first treatment.
Yeah, and it was. I mean, people say it was it's life changing, and it really is. It's completely life changing and hits you just like a wrecking ball. Mine was lung cancer, and my stage 4 was all still in the left lung cavity. So mine was very challenging for me to then rearticulate to everyone, and very challenging for everybody to understand. Well, can't they just take the lung out?
Right.
Can't you
get another opinion?
That's what they do. That's what they do. It was very challenging in that mind. And then, mine spread even then outside of the lung. And so it's a hard concept. It's very, very hard to just wrap your head around, and you try to compare it to other diseases. You're like, treatable but not curable. Well, that's all right. So's diabetes, hypertension. Diabetes and hypertension aren't quite as smart as the cancer cells are. Cancer cells are extremely smart, and that's the issue. That's the issue, and it's just kind of never ending, and you can't wrap your mind around it most days. I still have days where I'm like, I can't believe I have cancer. I have, this diagnosis. There's still days that I just can't believe it.
Have you become comfortable talking to friends and family about it? And did it take a bit of practice to figure out how to describe to others, especially those you love, that you have a incurable cancer?
You learn which people are comfortable. Background music. You learn which people are more comfortable in talking about it, and which people aren't comfortable in talking about it, and kind of which ways are people comfortable talking about. Some people are very comfortable with talking about any of it, and well, what do you think? And other people are like, oh, but you had a good report at the doctor today, didn't you? Why, yes. Yes, today was a good day. Today was a good day, And
people don't know what to say.
And and it's, it's very challenging, I get, what do you say to somebody? Oh, good day, huh?
I'm sure it's going to be okay.
Right.
Yeah.
They want to say something positive.
Yeah. And, everybody tries to be positive, and it's not necessarily the most positive thing. So it's kind of a person to person conversation, and can be very challenging
So
to
to
know.
share with you, I was a junior in high school when my mom was diagnosed with incurable cancer, but of course those weren't the words that were used, and and nobody talked about it. This was the late 1960s, and it was sort of not discussed, a little bit of an embarrassment, a little bit of, and of course, if mom ever wanted to talk about it, it was like, oh no, everything's going to be okay. You know, that was about as empathetic as one got talking about.
Yeah, I've really I've really tried to just embrace it and said, well, if I was given this disease, I had to be given it for a reason. Maybe my reason is to be an advocate for lung cancer. There's lots of stigmas out there about it. You know, I am female, non-smoker, non-smoking home. Didn't even grow up in a smoking home. No radon in my house. There's, you know, as, you know, bad luck. I don't know.
Right.
You know, I don't know.
I've had women with lung cancer who just sometimes say, I just want to tell people I have breast cancer.
Right.
And
yes. And people tell me, oh, well, that's not a very common cancer. Well, actually,
yes,
it's a little more common than your other cancers. But it's, you know, so it's been one of those things that I've been able to grab onto and educate. I've become involved with some support groups for lung cancer, the White Ribbon Project with lung cancer. What was it? 2 years ago, I actually had the governor sign a proclamation for November for lung cancer awareness. You know, so I've been able to do advocating for lung cancer and the research and everything that needs to go along with it. And Dr. Hughes in this group with the videos is just another way for me to grab onto that. And think
so how
that
generous
maybe
of you
that's
to use
a purpose.
to use the wisdom that you've gained in your journey to help others.
But I think you would agree with me as a physician in this field that having stories and patients like this are also a constant reflection for me of what's important, right? It's not about your money. It's not about your cars. It's not about all this other junk, right? It's about your connections and your family and your friends. And I mean, that's incredible.
Yes. And then the inspiration you are to other patients.
Absolutely.
So when we walk in the next room and tell someone you have incurable stage 4 lung cancer, but let me tell you what that may look like. The knowing how long you're going to live is impossible, but let me just tell you about this other patient I have, and that the possibility is that you may live years of good quality life. And the more patients we have like you that are able to be on an oral targeted therapy that allows you to have good quality of life. I mean, not to diminish the side effects you're experiencing, but it certainly gives hope not only to other patients, but to researchers as we continue to develop newer treatments for lung cancer.
Right. And, you know, and I've had newly diagnosed people reach out to me, and I'm fine with that. Reach out, ask me your questions, ask me how I got started, you know that. And being part of support groups, you know, I've been able to be in contact with people who are 20-year lung cancer survivors, you know, a lot of them 10 plus survivors, you know, and those are the people that give me, you know, that kind of light that they've been doing it this long. You know, every lung cancer patient's journey is a little different. But, you know, hopefully maybe my journey will be a long one. But if it's not, then I want to know that I've got everything set in a manner so that my family can continue.
Well, thank you. Let's open it up to some questions. So we've got a live studio audience for questions, and we also have those of you that are watching us live stream, if you would put your questions in the comments section. And we got the microphone here coming around.
Lisa, what an awesome story.
Mm.
Thank you for
Oh,
sharing.
thank you.
Just to let you know, Dr. Denton is a big supporter of Fight for Air with American Lung. And we have a fabulous team that we do the climb every year. And none of us are smokers.
Mm.
We're all cancer survivors, other type of cancers. And just to let you know, we're there raising awareness of lung
I
cancer.
appreciate it.
Yeah. Thank you, Poon. We have a question over here. Fred?
Lisa, I wondered if the Legacy Project also kind of opened you up to looking at things that you want to do, specifically leave for, children, grandchildren, things that you could share with them, while you can talk about it and say, this is why I want you to have it. So I didn't know
Yes.
whether that was something.
Yeah, it is one of the other things, I think about. I have an idea in my mind as exactly how I'm going to leave the videos for each one of them and specific items that will be left for each one of them. So I do have that kind of prearranged also. So it did, the video led me to
Mm-hmm.
kind of do further.
This presentation reminded me of something I just found recently where my mom had, both my parents are gone, and I didn't really know my grandmother on my dad's side. She died the first year I was born, but she had left a wool, kind of shawl blanket that my mom had passed on to me. And my mom had pinned this note on there that I recently found, and it had information on there that I had no idea that
Oh,
that
wow.
blanket
Wow.
my grandmother had wrapped me in when I was going to the doctor as a baby, but also she had wrapped all of her 5 children in that, my dad
Oh
included.
my gosh.
Back into the century before. I had no idea, but my mom had
Yeah.
written that out in my mom's handwriting, which is another kind of legacy that's fun
Absolutely.
to come across.
Absolutely. And we've through kind of doing all this legacy work, we have also looked at other ways. So things like the t-shirt quilts that you will sometimes see people make from their loved ones' items of clothing. And for kids, they even have where you can take those items of clothing and make like teddy bears. And those teddy bears can have a voice box that has your saying I love you or whatever it is. So there's some really incredible things
Mhm.
that I think are available outside
Yeah.
of just, videography. And but I think it's sort of a stepping stone of it makes you start thinking about it. And I think we've talked about this. I think it's a really brave thing to be able to be in a position where you have this disease that you've been told is incurable. And to be able to film a video is really sort of an acknowledgement of the fact that it's sort of an acknowledgement of your mortality, right?
Mhm.
You are doing this video because you want to leave this legacy behind. And so I think that sort of opens the door to thinking about all these other things. Okay, if I'm gone, what do I do with all of my bank accounts? What do I do with all of these other everyday logistic things too that people don't think about? I've had lots of families where the loved one passes and then the remaining spouse doesn't know what to do because they weren't talking about it. So I think the more we talk about it, not just legacy video, but I think the more we talk about it in general,
Yeah.
it can help across the board. Just be prepared.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very moving to me presentation tonight. Thank you for sharing.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Fred.
I think I should just use her to sell the legacy video. You didn't need me, Dick. You just needed her.
You're good, Dick.
No. Yeah. No.
We've got some comments from our online viewers. Patty kind of sums it up. She says, "Thank you, Lisa, for sharing. You are speaking to me. How
Aw.
can someone be included in this legacy project? I would so love to take a part, maybe perhaps not as a patient, but somebody that wants to help, contribute, volunteer, whatever. So,
Absolutely. So there, if you go to that website, there is actually an area where it's a contact us, and they're welcome to send a message. It comes directly to me. So they're welcome to send a message if there's interest in maybe not necessarily filming a video, but if they want to volunteer. We're always looking for people who are comfortable with these kind of topics so that they can do interviewing.
To be a
and-
coach.
Yeah. Yeah.
So people can go to the website if they have incurable cancer and apply
Correct.
to be the recipient of the video. Others can go volunteer to be a coach, and I'm sure there's an opportunity for individuals to go and make a donation.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And it is a 501c.
And it is a 501c3, so it is tax deductible, which
Mhm.
is awesome. I do want to just make a point too that it's not limited to just cancer patients.
Oh, okay.
So because of the way that we formed the nonprofit, it covers any terminal illness. So Huntington's, ALS, early stage dementia. So any of those are also
Excellent.
covered.
Good. I'm glad you brought
Yes.
that up.
And I'd
Yes.
highly encourage anybody, if you know someone with a
Yes.
terminal illness and you've been a part of this and heard this tonight, bring it up in conversation with them, and just let it linger with them. Let them know that this is available to them.
Yeah.
And the website has some clips from
Right.
your video
Yes,
and
that's-
others to
that's true.
Yes,
to
so
let
they
them
can
see what
kind of
this would look
see
like.
a little bit of what it would be like.
Mhm.
Any other questions coming to us from the streaming audience?
a lot of people inspired, obviously, but not questions.
Okay, great. Well, I want to thank you, Lisa Bistline.
Thank you.
Lisa from Southeast Polk County and a survivor of stage 4 lung cancer, living with cancer
Yes.
on a oral targeted agent, talking about leaving a legacy to her family. And Dr. Amy Hughes, medical oncologist with Mission Cancer and Blood, who is the creator of this not-for-profit Amadora Legacy Project. And again, you can learn more about it at the Amadora Legacy Project.org website. Any final words for the audience tonight?
Just do it.
Do it.
Do it.
Great.
Do it. That's what we say.
Well, I want to thank
Just
you
do
both.
it.
And it inspires me to see this sort of relationship between patient and doctor. A doctor-patient relationship is a human being caring for another human being, and
Mhm.
that's what humanity's all about. So thank you both for being with us.
Thank
And
you.
thank all of you for attending. If you know someone that would benefit by watching this video, it will be available on demand at the Above and Beyond Cancer YouTube channel, and also at the Mercy Cancer Center website starting tomorrow. And I hope you will join us again next week. Thanks for joining us. Bye, everyone.
Thank you.